There's a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the championship is opening up.
Hello everybody, welcome back to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast, and we have a couple of games to talk about as the season finally gets close to frigging ending. We'll talk about Bank Holiday Monday, from what we can remember, because it felt like nothing happened in that game, but we'll find some stuff to talk about, I'm sure. And then we'll look ahead, Stevenage in the final away game of the season, and then we'll go again for next week. First of all, Mick, how are we?
I'm all good, thank you, mate. How are you?
Very good. The season's nearly over. Nearly there.
Yes.
Very, very good. I'll be better in 10 days' time. I'll be even better because the season will be done. Danny's back as well. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm not too bad. I've just had a look at my rota for the end of the season, and I'm actually off on the final day. So I'm very well. I've got a team meeting in the morning, but after that, I can actually come to the football, get in. So I'm very happy about that.
I'm sure you'll be happy until about 3:10, and then you'll be regretting your decision.
I mean, I'm going to be drinking from 11 o'clock, mate. I'll be happy as Larry regardless.
Yeah, that will help. Martin Hollins, as is the Miller 66, Caliph Bob, Stevie Mick, Dave Lawton is with us. Paul Rose this evening. Anybody else heard the Steve Evans to Shrewsbury rumour? Yes, I have heard that one. Trevor Kirk, Darren Cook, Sean H says, evening guys, Dan Go is alive for Saturday, apparently. Steve Gundy, Terry Fimby, Lisa Ball are all with us. We will talk Dango, we will talk Sean Raggett, we will talk Stevenage. But we have to go back. Bank Holiday Monday. We'll talk about everything, but Mick, it was bad. But you have to take into account the opposition. Wigan, if you look at the goals that they concede, they don't concede many. I think their goalkeeper's got the highest clean sheets in the league, which I think is 18. It wasn't good, and it wasn't good enough. But does it matter that much? Should we be reading too much into it anyway? Even if you ignore them, should we be reading that much into it?
I mean, if he plays every week, he'd have a clean sheet every week because we didn't hit one on target, did we? I don't think.
Well, I do agree with this, by the way. The stats say we don't have a shot on target. Johnson Clark-Harris said, cleared off the line.
Did he?
Well, that shot
Clark-Harris.
The shot he took that somebody stopped, that was on target.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember the open goal that he managed to somehow hit a defender when he went across the box to far side? Well, and it almost fell over his own feet. Did you watch the game?
Yeah, I watched the game. Yeah, I thought he just hugled it and missed the absolute tap in. Obviously not. Whatever. Listen, it was back to the bad old days. That performance, if you take it in isolation, it's what we've had all season. It was pretty dull, pretty boring. It was a boring game anyway. It was always going to be a boring game. It always is when you go to Wigan. When we go to Wigan, and that's not a criticism of them. It's just how it is. It just seems to be a tedious game when we go there. And this year didn't disappoint, did it? In that sense. But yeah, it was a really, really poor performance. I thought tired, laboured, and lacking in any real purpose.
Yeah. That's fair. But do we need to read too much into it, Danny? Because of I was speaking to on another show earlier, and I kind of asking about Matt Hamshaw, what we kind of think of things like that. When he gets the job permanently, the remit of Matt Hamshaw is different then. The remit isn't just let's have some fun and be positive. The remit is then, right, look forward, look to next season, play some players you wouldn't normally have played, like JJ, for example, or something like that. The remit is different from then onwards, and I think that's probably why we've seen some different performances post the appointment that might not reflect Matt Hamshaw.
No, I actually agree with that, to be fair. I mean, we've seen one lad who had to ask permission for him to play from his secondary school, because he's in the youth setup, which is crazy, but, safeguarded everything. But no, I agree. But I'm sure it's effective we've got an extended pre-season with the added bonus that it is in competitive football, because we're not going up, we're not going down. We will be in this league next season. That is nailed, coloured to the mast now. So why shouldn't he experiment? You know, he's well within his right now that he's got the permanent job to be thinking 2-3 years in advance. And that's what he said. He's got an extended plan of what he wants to do. So instead of waiting until the end of the season and going, we gave that season a right good showing without having to learn anything, you might as well start the learning and the teaching now. And that's why we're seeing JJ in to see if we'll give him another contract to see how he gets on. Giving youth players experience as well to see if they can get a senior contract in the summer as well. Plus there's the EFL Trophy to think about where he might see them players again as next season. So he has a lot to think about. And I think the Wigan game exposed our weaknesses more than the Stockport game, because the Stockport game was effectively the same as the Bolton game, but Stockport could actually finish the dinner, and they did. But with the Wigan game, it exposed the lack of fitness, the lack of coordination, and I think the players that actually aren't that arsed anymore. So he's learned, like he said in his interview, he learned a lot, and he's going to forward that on to next season, potentially shifting a few players on, not renewing contracts of some other players, trying to get some players back, etc., etc. So I think the Wigan game was less a game for us to enjoy as fans and more of a learning curve for a first-time manager, which every manager gets. Even Paul Warne had it during his first spell, but he had an even bigger window to learn what was wrong. And then the following season, we went up in the playoff. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Don't jump the gun or anything. But Matt Hamshaw has now got his window to learn what needs to be done. And I'm sure he's got a notepad as thick as the Bible of what to do for next season.
Yeah, I think he has. And nobody wants to lose, Mick. It's bad to lose. But you can learn a lot from games like that from Matt Hamshaw. For us as a fan, it's boring because there's no one to play for. There was a few chances which we'll come on to, and Wigan didn't do anything. What they did was brilliant because they were solid and everything else. They were very good, but they didn't do anything entertainment-wise. But Matt Hamshaw said in his post-match interview, and he's right, he will have learnt so much from that game. And the Mansfield on Friday. He will have learnt so much about the personalities, not the technical abilities, the personality of the players over those two games. Is probably invaluable. Players he thought he might want to rely on after the Northampton game or whatever else, he might now be thinking, actually, this might not be the thing, or players he might want to keep or offer new contracts to, we might see things differently because he's had this chance, and it might work out as a benefit in the long run. Better than the league, don't matter.
Yeah, it may do. It may do. It's a difficult one for him because I'll bang the same old drum again, but psychologically, a lot of these players are not in a very good place, are they? In terms of confidence, in terms of sort of, I don't know, self-esteem almost, but it's confidence more than anything else. So none of them are going to be playing to the best of their ability. They may be putting the effort in, but the outcomes of that effort are pretty dour. I don't know. I'm sure he has learned something, and he's obviously around the players at most days or every day in training. So he will have seen. I'm sure he'll have taken some stuff from it, but I certainly didn't. No, to be honest with you.
No, I agree, but it's not. Yeah, I agree. Sean H on the Johnson Clark Harris shot thinks it was a pass. Matt Mills says Clark Harris. You are?
It was a pass too, ball boy.
It was closer to some Rotherham players than some of his other passes that he's tried in the past. To be fair,
Mate,
I've just got to that clip on the highlights, and it's definitely not a shot. It's more of a deflection, so I think that's why they've not counted it.
That is an absolute sitter for a striker of his quality. It's an absolute sitter, and it's inexcusable that he's missed that. Yeah, it was almost as if he was surprised that the ball appeared there. You know what I mean?
And that's the problem with him, though, isn't it? The problem is you brought Johnson Clark Harris in. He can't do all the other things, but he'll score your goals. Put him in the box and he'll score your goals. I don't know what more he wanted then. That was perfect.
Yeah,
that was
it was an awkward height. Yeah, I accept it was a reasonably awkward height, but a player of his quality should be absolutely eating that up.
Big time.
And he reacted, like I say, as if he was surprised that what this big white thing flying towards him were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it hit him.
Yeah, it were. Yeah, Mike Miller says he missed a good chance. Ball just hit him at the back post. Neil says he clearly wasn't on his toes. He's not sharp enough. Can he get... The question is for Clark Harris. We know he's not sharp enough. We know that. Can he get back to being sharp? And that's the question that Matt Hamshaw's got to work out. Now, if Matt Hamshaw thinks he can get him back to a place after a really good pre-season that he thinks Jonson Clark can get sharp again, then we'll see him next year and he'll score a bucket load of goals. But that's a massive question. And it's a massive risk and all.
I would ask the question, has he ever been sharp?
Sharp enough to score 30 goals a season like he had done at Peterborough.
Yeah. Okay.
Sharp for him and sharp for Nombe is a very different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, precisely.
But anyway. Yeah, Matt was pretty damning after the match, whilst being very, very diplomatic. That was the angriest we've heard Matt Hamshaw post-match.
And can I just say, just to bounce off that as well, it's so refreshing to see someone not berate any players, but you can also tell he's furious at them. Because I was just seeing the highlights there, and the camera cuts to Matt Hamshaw just after Clark Harris's deflection, shall we say, and Hamshaw looks fuming at it. He even kicks the thing out as if to go, just effectively just put it in the net, you know. Yeah, it's a damning interview, a post-match interview, without it being a damning post-match interview.
Yeah, I agree. What I'd also add into the Jonson Clark Harris conversation is that I think I mentioned this before. Jonson Clark Harris left under a bit of a cloud when Paul Owen was here last time, and Matt Hamshaw would have been part of that management team. So he will already have had an opinion on Jonson Clark Harris, and that will not have been improved on Jonson Clark Harris's performance on Monday. The goal, Danny, comes from James Carragher. James Carragher. It's one of those that just looks crap. And I don't know if Phillips should have done better, and I don't know if the guy on the line should have done better. It just looks rubbish. How did you see it?
I've seen it as quite a typical Phillips flap, if I'm being honest. Like, we've seen Phillips concede a few goals like that, both from set pieces and from high balls into the 6-yard box. He just tends to flap at those sort of chances and they end up going in. Yeah, the players on the line should do a lot better, but we've seen it from Phillips time and time again when he's played this season, which makes it even more, unfortunate that Dawson's out as well, because I reckon Dawson would have caught it or at least parried it over at crossbar.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think conceding set pieces is an issue necessarily. I'm sure it certainly hasn't looked like it so far. So you just put it down to one of those things. That's clearly what Wigan. Bear in mind the time that Ryan Lowe's had with this club, which is a similar time, only a bit longer than Matt Hamshaw. It feels like Wigan just kind of went to basics. Right, we're going to be really, really solid. We're going to play for set pieces, and we're going to be effective. And they were pretty effective from the little set pieces they had. Or do we need to be a bit more damning in terms of how we defended it?
I suppose a bit of both, really. The defending weren't great, were it? The keeping weren't great. It wasn't. It was hardly a vintage set piece, was it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a ball to back post. So, yeah, they're on beach. Both teams were on the beach, weren't they? You know, and I don't know whether we're looking into this too deeply, given the state of the season. You know, we've got a new manager in charge, and I guess that's probably why we're doing this and why we're trying to forensically analyse everything that's gone off, when in reality, you know, a lot of the players a lot of the 22 that were on that pitch won't be wearing a blue or a red shirt next season of Wigan or Rotherham, I would argue, or some certainly, and certainly more of the red ones. Yeah, look, we lost. Did we deserve to lose? Probably, yeah, because we didn't create anything at all of any value. And when we did, the only occasion that we got a sight, a sniff at goal, it got kneed behind by Clark Harris. So I'm not too concerned about it. I'm genuinely not. I'll be honest, but yeah, we should be defending better. We should be, definitely.
Yeah, Paula Rhodes looked like Phillips looked like a seal trying to catch a wet fish. Paula is not Dylan Phillips' biggest fan. I don't know if you've worked that out, anybody. Just fair. Nick said, I think Phillips was flats like he's done many times. Yeah, I think he's out of contract, Danny. Would you put how much money would you put on Dylan Phillips not being here? For me, is one of the top. Bear in mind, Cam Dawson is in contract, and Cam Dawson was playing pretty well. I suspect Phillips, maybe for his own sake, just needs to get. It's just been a bit of a disaster for him.
Yeah, I was just umming and ahhing, like, benefit of the doubt, like Dawson's still injured, but you've just said it there. Dawson's still under contract and will recover from this injury.
Yeah.
And Dawson's still, how old's Dawson now? He's about 26-ish,
28-ish, something like that. I think I'll look.
Yeah, and we know from his time being properly managed at other clubs, he is a very, very good goalkeeper. Promotion, is he 29? I don't think 29. No, but like I say, he is a promotion-winning goalkeeper at this level and a very good goalkeeper when he is properly managed and maintained by a goalkeeper coach. And we saw how Andy Warrington improved Victor. Potentially he can do like with Dawson and get his confidence back, because with the goalkeeper, confidence is a huge thing. Like, if you're confident, you play a lot better. But Dawson doesn't. Dawson had that under Matt Hamshaw before he got injured, but I don't think Phillips has ever had it really. He's been understudy to Victor, and then he was understudy to Dawson. Switched and weaknesses at this level, I think, and with him being out of contract, I do have a feeling it won't be renewed in the summer, and we'll find maybe a younger goalkeeper, so he can train alongside Dawson, or potentially an even older goalkeeper, as a solid backup keeper, potentially, a goalkeeper touching like maybe 33-ish, around that age. But yeah, I don't think Phillips will last at this football club unless there is an absolute emergency. I can't see his contract getting renewed.
No, I agree. Paula's going to give Dylan Phillips a lift to the train station on his way out. Nick said Phillips had a few arguments with the fans as well. I don't know if he's referring to Wigan. I didn't know if he had any discussions at Wigan, but he's had more than we should be mentioning conversations and disagreements with fans throughout the season. He doesn't seem to be able to. Well, he argued when he came on again for Cam Dawson. He's a footballer. He knows the rules. He knows you can't go on until other guys gone off, and he's arguing with fourth official because he won't let him on. Yeah. He just seems like one of those guys who just likes to argue, which is fine. It is what it is, I suppose. But yeah, moving on to Phil. Sorry, guys. How long are we going to say give JJ a chance? I'm not against him, but look at his histories. We've been stung recently by signing players with injury problems. Adding into that, Mick, that it was basically anonymous on Monday. That was JJ's big chance. Let's not sugarcoat it and put it else. That was JJ's big chance. He got the start. Something Evans never gave him. He got his start in the middle of a 3, and it just didn't work.
He didn't see anything of the ball at all, did he?
Well, neither did Nombe and Wilkes, but they still managed to get themselves involved.
Yeah. I can see what Phil's saying, and I've a certain amount of sympathy for that point of view. To be honest with you, he came back and then got injured again straight away.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there's a player in there, but he's been here a long time, and he's never really been able to tie a place down in the team. He's been out at Carlisle a few times, and they loved him up there. Yeah. They really liked him up there until he got injured again. So I don't know. I'll leave that one to Matt Hamshaw, quite frankly, because sentiment takes over, doesn't it? He's been through academy. He's a Rotherham player. From academy level upwards, and broke into first team. And do you really want to? Yeah, I know exactly what Phil's saying, and I don't know the answer to it, but I'm sure that Matt Hamshaw will.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Yeah, sorry, I'm done.
Yeah, Liz Ball says Josh Vickers. I'd like to see him back, but doubt it would be nice. He is. Paula's going to pick Vickers up from the train station. We can back Josh Vickers was a lovely guy because we sat on our table for the Woody thing and it was lovely. Yeah, I mean, I think Mick could pick him up as well, wouldn't you?
I would, yeah, anytime.
I'll try and find out what his contract situation is. He's been at Derby for a few years, so there's a good chance he'll be out of contract. There's a new management set up at Derby as well, so they want their own second choice because the Swedish fella is going to be number one because they paid a lot of money for him. But anyway, that's the story for another day. Nick says JJ isn't a young anymore. It's a shame, but I think it's time moved on. Dave Lawton, JJ is 24, never produced or stayed fit for long enough. I mean, I think he'll probably get 2 more chances, Danny. I think he'll get the 2 games. He'll certainly get some time in the 2 games, but there's not enough. If you put a pro and con list together of Coyote, there's not enough in the pros column that's concrete. We're still saying we think he's a good player. It's all think. We don't know anything about him too much, and there's too many question marks. I think probably, which is a shame because would be so happy if he made it, but.
Yeah, I'd be over the moon if he made it into a regular starter next season. I think it's all just. I mean, bless him. It's all a series of unfortunates for JJ because the season where he was fit and he was good and he had a really good season was a season where Michael Smith was unreal for us in this league. So again, he didn't get a look in, but he got his first goal against Wimbledon. I think it was.
Yeah, I think is that his only league goal? I think, isn't it?
Yeah, only league goal. I think. Yeah, but it's just like the team's been in a position where we have to be challenging up the top end, and he's just not quite been there. Then when he has, other people have been better, and then he's been hit with an absolutely atrocious record of injuries. I mean, fair play to Carlisle. They seem to pick up our injured strikers and turn them into good players. I mean, look how Georgie's doing now. But I think. I don't want to call it last chance to win for JJ because I don't think Hamshaw would be like that because he's come through as academy coach and then first team coach. So he will know JJ a lot more than the other players that are in this team. So I don't think he's going to write him off just like I said. There's 2 chances potentially. Potentially that gets him at least an extension of some sort. You'll know more than me, Matt, on his contract situation. I don't know if he's got a year left or it's up this summer. This is it. This is it. Yeah, it might be just Hamshaw's very first tough manager decision not to renew it. It might have a brilliant 2 games, we don't know, but
yeah,
it might be the first tough decision, and I think at that point it might link back up with Carlisle in the National League if they go down. To be honest, just to restart it a little bit because I think that's where JJ should go if it doesn't work out these last 2 games. He needs to go somewhere and properly get his career back on track and settle, recharge, and then go again. But I hope he does, and I hope it gets renewed just for the lad's sake. If not, then we'll have to part ways, unfortunately. And I wish him all the best if he does go.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, Kieran McLaughlin's a good example of this. You know, he struggled for game time, got tripped very, very badly by Steve Evans and others, and he's gone out on loan to Yeovil. And I know he's not banging him in, but they really like him down at Yeovil. He's found a new home there. Now, whether that means he's going to get an extension here or could find a career elsewhere, he's had a reset. He's had another chance somewhere else, and he's thriving from it. I think that's what JJ needs. He needs a fresh start, and like you said, like Mick said a minute ago, there's a player there. There's 100% a player in there. What his level is, we just don't know because of injury, but there is somebody there. It's just a shame it looks like it's not going to happen with us. Kelly was just confirming Josh Vickers has another year on his contract. So that makes it less.
I thought that meant it expired on 26th of June this year. We're getting a bit giddy there.
Yeah.
I thought that was very specific.
Let's. Do you want to talk about any of the chances? Their keepers made a good save from Nombe in the first half. Clark Harris has obviously missed that chance. JJ again had that short term where he's got to be doing better with, which is another thing to kind of a stick to hit him with.
We started off pretty well. Yeah, we started off pretty well. For the first 5-10 minutes, we did the opposite to what we did at Mansfield. Really, against Mansfield. To be fair, we started off reasonably well and then just petered out pretty quickly. and then never really created anything. And it did feel like if you looked at touchline, you'd have felt like Evans was still in charge. That was the level of the quality of the performance for me. So yeah, draw a line under it. Hopefully the manager's got something out of it, because we certainly didn't. And we'll move on.
Yeah, good. McWilliams was back though. That was good news. McWilliams got 10 minutes at the end, which is a positive.
Yeah, but he came on and immediately was involved, absolutely involved. He was everywhere. Listen, that's a good signing.
Assuming he stays fit.
Assuming he stays fit, because
he's had 2 or 3 injuries already.
Yeah. That might be an issue. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, and Mike's got another point. The Wilkes header before half time. That was an absolute sitter as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really say that for a header, but it was a great cross in, and he's got in front of the defender and just on target, and it's in back at net, isn't it?
Well, then you're looking at Stockport again. Look what Stockport did to us, goal just before half time.
Yeah,
you could be talking the same kind of thing. It gives you extra momentum and everything else that comes with goals before half time.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair to Wilkes, that's not necessarily his bag, is it? That's not what he does. But nevertheless, he's got to hit the target with that.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, a terrible game. It's just boring. But it is what it is. Anthony Fort says, any news on Alex McDonald? No. Not
done for the season, I think.
I'm pretty sure he's done for the season. Did Evans confirm he was done for the season, or did I imagine that? I can't remember if Evans confirmed he's out for the season.
It rings a bell, I think.
I'm sure somebody can tell us. I'm sure somebody knows better than us. But on that one. But yeah. Right. Let's tick off a couple of bits of injury news, sort of. Dan Gore.
Who?
He might be back, exactly. The man who played 45 minutes at Birmingham in February is set to return, Danny. Now, these comments were from Matt Hamshaw after the Wigan game, I think, because there's been no pre-match presser so far. Dan Gore was training with Manchester United on Tuesday or Wednesday? Can't remember.
Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday, yeah. People took that as a suggestion that he's done with Rotherham United, but Paul Davis is suggesting that it's just he trained with them and it's going back to us. Unnecessary load into an injury-prone player for me. What are you going to do? Does Dan Gore come back into the squad for you, Danny? I suppose is the question. If he's fit, if he can survive a game.
If he can survive a game or even 45 minutes, yes, because the amount of injuries we've picked up, it's. I wouldn't really call it all hands to the pump because we play 4 league-wise. But I would say if he's available, he will play at some point, if not to give somebody else a rest.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look too much into the Man United training video. He's there under 21. No, under 21's captain. So they are going to do a bit of publicity with him because they're in as dire situation as we are this season, maybe a bit worse. So they are going to get a bit of positivity out, and it's probably his training session to sign him off to come back on loan to us, and they've put that video out there. So 2 games of first team football will do him good in their view. So they'd be silly not to send him back out to us, and it'd do us good to take off a bit of pressure off whoever in midfield or whatever. So. I would say his loan signing isn't the best, to put it politely, because of the injury. And was it Port Vale that he was at before, where something similar happened?
One
and he
game,
just never went back. Yeah. So he's played. He will hopefully play more games for us than he did for Port Vale. But he's just had a stinker. If I'm being honest, have your own theory about it, whether it's his attitude or unlucky with injuries, whatever. But Hamshaw sort of said he'll be coming back. Paul Davis said he'll be coming back. I think Man United would be silly not to send him back because it's either he gets some more senior football or he goes out on loan again next season for the best of hope, because he's coming to the end of his under-21s tenure now. So I think we will see him for the final 2 games. He probably won't start on Sunday, I don't think. but we should see a few minutes out of him, maybe see a bit more in the Peterborough game. So, yeah, it's just a loan that's not worked. And it's a season where we were hoping it would work, but it just hasn't. It's like this season as a whole, really. It's a season that should have worked, but it didn't.
No, he kind of. Oh, the 3 loan signings in January, which all looked great on paper, all turned out to be a little bit duds, really. To be honest with you, not quite worked out, any of them. What was pointing? Gore coming back, says Richard. Dave Lawton says pointless unless there's a chance to come back next season, and it's certainly a waste of time. Richard said we should be playing our youngsters.
I don't necessarily agree with that, and for the simple reason, we're almost at a stage where, you know, it's first 11 people who turn up on a Saturday with the boots get a game. That's almost where we are, isn't it? You know, so I get where David's coming from. I get what he's saying, and it does seem a bit daft for 2 games, but where we are at the moment in terms of personnel, anybody who's got any sort of quality, we need them. We just need the bodies. And I can't remember who's mentioned it in the comments there. It might have been David again. I suspect Hamshaw might have an eye on him coming back next year. And given the change of managership as well, I suspect Man U wouldn't be averse to that necessarily, unless they've got bigger plans for him. I don't know, but the fact that he's not played at professional level to any degree, I think they'll want him out on loan somewhere. So I think that might be part of the. I'd like to think it might be part of the issue. Yeah.
A few points from this. We should play our youngsters. I think if Matt Hamshaw thought our youngsters were good enough, they would have already played. He's not scared to put them on the bench. He clearly doesn't think they're good enough to kind of make that step forward yet. That may change, but Dan Gore is essentially almost a senior player. He's playing in Man U's first team squad, so there's clearly levels there that Dan Gore is reaching. Also, we're paying for him. If you're paying for him, you may as well get your money's worth. You know, we might as well. And also, to add into that as well, Matt just talked about creating relationships with these big clubs. If the Matt Hamshaw said, "No, don't worry about it. I didn't sign him. We're not bothered. Just keep him." That's not a good relationship start point for Matt Hamshaw going forward. So Matt Hamshaw will bring him in for 2 games and work with him a little bit and create that positive relationship. We might not get Dan Gore back next year, but there might be somebody else in the Man U thing. Dan Gore has a positive report of Matt Hamshaw with, and it builds those relationships up that he's talked about. I don't see a negative with him coming back. To be honest with you, I understand what people are saying, but I just don't see the negative in it. For all those reasons I've mentioned and you two have mentioned as well. And I'd be interested to see if he's any good. If he was good, that means it was a good signing, but we're just unlucky with injuries. So then Evans gets a tick for signing a good player, which is a rarity. On to other injury news, Danny. Sean Raggett, the poor man, until September. I mean, this is a knee. It's a report as a knee injury. I think is that it's a set on from the bone bruising that's happened. I've seen Sean Raggett coming for a little bit of stick. I think Ian Bradley replied to us comparing to Grant Hall. He's not a Grant Hall. This is not a man that's been injured all the time. This is just one of those things. And we can talk about Sean Raggett, the footballer, if we like, which Mick has talked about. But from a fitness point of view, it's been desperate. I think we calculated he's missed 11 match days for Portsmouth in 5 years or something like that. This is not an injury dud player. It's just desperately unlucky. And Matt Hamshaw didn't even sound positive about September. He said it could be longer than that. It's just, I'm gutted for Sean Raggett.
Yeah, I mean, the poor sod, his first spell here, he had a tooth took out. And now he might end up with his knee took out. I don't know. But yeah, say what you will about Sean Raggett, the footballer, and I'm sure a lot of people have their opinions on that, Mick included, apparently. But in terms of Sean Raggett, the person, it's not his fault he's picked up this injury. You know, it's an injury that's very unfortunate. I mean, it's a bone bruise, did you say?
It was bone bruising. I don't know if it's something else. I don't know if they found something else, but it was bone bruising originally.
Well, that will lead to all sorts of inflammation behind his knee. So it must have been so careful with it before, and it must have just flared up again. You know what it's like with bruises. It's effectively a bleed under the skin. So if he's had a bleed around his bone, that's going to be quite, painful and quite hard to get rid of and to shake off. So if that's flared up again or something's gone worse or whatever the thing is, to be looking at September and September being a doubt, it's almost like Andre Green. Of course, the injury isn't as bad because I think Green effectively tore his Achilles in half. It's just desperately unlucky for Sean Raggett. And he's is he a 2-year contract he's on with us?
Yeah, another year.
At least the one positive I could put on that, at least he's with us, so he has a club to do his rehabilitation with. Same with Andre Green. I don't know what's going to happen with him in the summer either, but at least he had a club to do his rehab with, because with Grant Hall, it was quite unfortunate that it was a rolling 1-year contract. But with Raggett, at least he has the security where he can get better with us and probably come back into the fold at some point next season. Sean Raggett, the footballer, yeah. But like you say, with Portsmouth, he didn't miss that many games in his 5 years there, and he were a very solid centre half. I mean, he won the league with them, so he's done the same with Rafferty. And this season, he's just desperately unlucky. I just hope it gets better and it doesn't end up being something more sinister, because a bone bruise, it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly Pop was in the comments saying he only played 7 times for Portsmouth last season. No, he played 44 times last season in all competitions. He played 53 times the year before. This is a guy who plays loads and loads of games, Mick. It's just... And the club deserves a lot of criticism for some of the signs that they've made in terms of fitness and everything else. We're not defending the recruitment as a whole. What I'm saying is we've got unlucky with Sean Raggett. And how many players have we signed in the past in previous years? And Ronnie and Evans and Warney have just got an injury and it's just not worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is there some truth in this training ground nonsense? It just seems to be. Say again?
With bone bruising, I wouldn't have thought that's...
I don't know. I mean, we don't know how he's actually sustained the injury, do we? So, it's unlucky for that lad. It is unlucky for him, and he's like you say, he's played nearly 100 games, over 100 games in 2 seasons, in the last 2 seasons, and then comes here and we can't string 2 games together, or 2 or 3 games, and he's out again. It's unlucky, but like Danny says, he's here for another year anyway, so just have to see what happens. We're going to have to bolster that area of the pitch significantly in the closed season anyway. Yeah. So whether or not he's in Matt Hamshaw's plans long term, he's not in them short term. That is for sure.
Yeah.
It must be such a headache for Matt Hamshaw as well to plan around that, because he'll have the summer transfer window to get the players in that he wants, but he'll have Sean Raggett at the back of his mind, like, will it be September, will it be October, do I sign him? Because Raggett's coming back, etc., etc. It's going to be such a headache for him as well.
He'll be on a decent wage and all. Not a massive, but decent enough wage as well.
Yeah.
Which he's going to have to be clever with budget this year, but bearing in mind, people like Clark Harris and Hugo have got another year left. And Kelly, Mike the Miller, won't Kelly be fit for Sunday? Matt Hamshaw seemed positive about that, but again, knowing Liam Kelly, you just don't know, do you?
That could factor into Dan Gore coming back as well, because it could be 45 for one, 45 for other, etc., etc. So if Kelly's fit, he might not be risked for the full 90, which is kind of a good thing. Yeah,
absolutely. Sean Wallace said, evening, gents. Raggett, an absolute pro of a player, just an awful injury. Top pro, yeah. These things happen. Some of the best pros in history have had horrific injuries for small parts of their career. I mean, again, we'd go back to Woody. I think when he first started playing, he had got a couple of really, really bad injuries. And then he's still playing now. Well, not playing now, but he's still professional footballer going to 39. So these things happen. Harry says, one fit centre-back as it stands for the start of next season, which is Zach Jules, who is currently injured. Rotherham United, It's fun, Rotherham United. What age is Sean Raggett? I've got his transfer market thing up here. You have to bear with me. 31 and another year in his contract, with 32 when his contract runs out.
It's not a bad age for a centre-half, is it really?
No. And it's something it's not like a Callum Foods who uses his pace really. He's not going to lose his pace, is he?
Well, I hope not. Tunnel. Poor lad. Listen, he's not. That's not his game, is it? That is not his game. I know, take Mickey. That is not what Sean Raggett's about. He's a header of the ball. Is his forte.
See it, edit.
Yeah.
Neil Button added the bone bruising occurred when he crashed into a post in a home game at a set piece. I think it might have been a cup game, maybe. Where are we? Kelly Fobbs asking who is the 2-year contract left that Steve Evans signed. Well, the only person in contract for longer than next season is Sam Nombe. Everybody at the club is out of contract either this summer or next summer. The players that he signed, Evans signed, were Liam Kelly, Clark Harris, Joe Rafferty, Sean Raggett, Reece James, Cam Dawson, Zach Jules, Joe Powell, and Sean McWilliams.
Didn't he give Clark Harris a 3-year contract?
Thankfully, just a 2.
Oh, I had made it with a 3-year for some reason.
No, he didn't sign anybody beyond a 2-year contract.
Okay.
Which might be a blessing in disguise, as it turned out. Other than maybe someone like Sean McWilliams and Joe Powell, who are 26 and out of contract next summer, which is not particularly ideal. But we are. Anthony Ford, also with Bill, would you take him on another year along with Hamshaw, or would you get rid? Hey, going to the category of getting rid for me. You make 34 years. Well, we signed him at 34, so he must be 35 now. And is a solid player, but he's a squad player, and I think you go again with him.
Yeah, I don't think there's a place for him, frankly. I would hope that Matt Hamshaw and his team will be able to find somebody at a better quality and younger, more importantly, younger and more mouldable. He's right at the back end of his career, unfortunately for him. But I think we need to be looking higher up the, what's the word, food chain. That's not what I mean, because that sounds a bit, but you know what I mean. When it's somebody a little bit better, basically. Yeah. All right. I try not to say that. I try not to be quite that negative, but listen, he's a decent player. He'll do a job for you, and I think that's the key. I don't necessarily think that this manager wants players that will do a job for you in inverted commas. Evans was all about players who will do a job, and those are the kind of players that he bought. So yeah, for me, I think he needs to go.
He'll find a club pretty easily. There'll be loads of League Two clubs. His wage won't be very high.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, if Evans goes to Shrewsbury, which is the strong rumour, he will end up at Shrewsbury.
100%.
Yeah, because we were at Stevenage with Steve Evans, wasn't he? And I think he signed him because we were
and Gillingham.
And Gillingham as well. Yeah, so he's a Steve Evans player. So I imagine if Steve comes knocking and he does get the job at Shrewsbury, good luck with that, Shrewsbury. He will probably go there and just follow Steve Evans until his career naturally just peters out somewhere else. Not necessarily a bad thing. All the best to him wherever he goes. But I'm with you two on this one. I wouldn't keep him because we don't want squad players. We want players who know the position, know the job, and know how to work round problems in this team and not just go, Alex, do you mind playing right back for us when he's not a right back at all?
Completely agree. I completely agree. And I also think, from when Alex, this is not Alex General podcast, he would be a brilliant signing for anybody in League. We know the gulf in class between League One and League Two. His quality is that he has a set piece ability, his adaptability, versatility. He'd be great for anybody in League Two.
Absolutely.
So it's like he's going to have to retire or anything like that. Matt Mill asking, isn't Harrison Duncan a centre half? Yes. Well, I think he plays centre half or centre midfield. We still don't know how good he is. All we have is the rumours. Matt Hamshaw has chosen not to include him in a couple of benches. Whether that's because he wants him to play some more youth team football or whether he's not to the levels that Evans said, we just don't know at this point. And we may never know. You know what youth players are like. We might never find out. We'll have to wait and see. Anything else in the Wigan game we need to mention before we have a quick look forward to that team playing Sunday? Stevenage.
No, I think we've not spoke about it for the last 20 minutes, and
I know.
That it took us what? We spent 25 minutes on it, and that was 25 minutes longer than I could stay awake during it. So,
yeah, correct. Right, we'll move ahead to the final away game of the season. Looking for another victory, Danny. It would be nice to finish on a victory. That would be nice. That's all we've kind of got, really.
Yeah.
We just want to see performances. I just want to see entertainment. Stevenage have also got nothing to play for, although they are playing tonight as we speak against Birmingham, which is 0-0 at half time. Is there anything specific you're looking for, or just entertainment value? Or more entertainment than Wigan, because that was terrible.
Yeah, I was just about to say, as long as it's better than the Wigan game, I'm happy. But again, it's a weird one because it's one of those games where I'm just getting up the league table so I can see where us and Stevenage are.
Oh, it's a big one, mate. 13th against 14th.
Oh, well, yeah, it's the 13th place derby then, isn't it? Yeah,
Correct.
Brilliant. But, well, as it stands anyway, because they're drawing with Birmingham 0-0. We could see the same as the Wigan game because realistically, both teams don't really have anything to play for. It's like both in this league next season. And I think they're both now trying to play strongly, but we have one eye on learning things with the new manager. I think Stevenage maybe, this is some statement given our injury list at the minute, maybe they're more tired of the two teams.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're doing Thursday, Sunday. So, yeah, it might be a boring game like the Wigan game. We may see a little bit more work on attacking threats, I think, because I think that may have been the main focus in training this week. Even though we weren't really lacking scoring goals per se. We got 3 against Mansfield. They just happened to score 3 again. We got 1 against Stockport, 1 against Bolton. Racking my brain now for other games. Basically, we've had a hatful. We're not lacking scoring. We're lacking against Wigan scoring. So maybe a bit more work on that. I think set pieces are okay. It's just getting onto them, I think. I mean, take Clark Harris's chance, for example. Brilliant whip into the box. It just comes off his knee and doesn't do anything. And potentially see a few more youth players. Maybe see Dan Gore at some point. Might see Duncan in the team again. So, yeah, I think it's just another game of tweaking here and there and putting into practical competitive games what you've been working on in training, which could be entertaining, could be boring. Wait and see. I hope it's better than the Wigan game, though, 100%. I hope we score. We'll go with that.
Yeah, I agree. Fewer, I think, so just over 500 tickets sold for the final away game, Mick. It's the image for them. Have had a decent season, not a perfect season because they obviously were close to playoffs last year, but a good season by their standards. We've had a terrible season by our standards, so it's too close. But our away record is famously terrible, so it'd be nice to end on a win. So then there is no monkey. There's no conversations to have about. Like Hamshaw's away record is already better than the previous 3 managers combined.
Yeah.
So you'll be hoping that we can finish on a positive note from the away stand.
So there is no monkey anymore on our back. So you can forget that one. You can bin that one off now. That's done. Yeah, it'd be nice to finish on a positive. Of course it would. I have no idea. I don't think anybody's got any idea. It's not as though you can change the team about. This is a conversation that we've had in preview shows for the last 3 or 4 weeks. There's no point going through a lineup because we know what it's going to be, give or take the odd player. So we just need to see more from the team than we did on Monday. We don't. Well, do we? In actual fact, I'm answering my own question. Asking myself, do we really? It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
It absolutely does not matter. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to get a victory. It'd be nice to go out with an away win, but don't really care. I don't. It doesn't matter. We'll go. We'll enjoy it. We'll have a day out, and we'll come back home, win or lose. And as far as Stevenage are concerned, I think they're obviously their season's not been as good as they probably anticipated it would have been, but they're in a recovery season, aren't they?
True.
They're recovering from the loss of their manager last season, and
that doesn't bode well for us next year, then, does it?
hopefully we can get over it quicker. because he weren't here he weren't with us for very long. So
True.
hopefully we can dispel that out of our systems quicker than they've been able to.
Fair enough.
Get a little bit of a passive aggressive dig in there before.
Like it.
Sorry.
Sean H. It's been Easter and no mention of chocolate eggs. I've got chocolate eggs here.
I've eaten them.
They're not mine. The children's eggs. But,
I've eaten my own cherries, but chocolate orange eggs. I've got none left. It's a disaster.
Now is the perfect time to go to the supermarket and buy chocolate eggs because they are so cheap. My missus went and picked up a 5-pack of cream eggs for like £1.50 or something like that. Now is the time. If you like normal, I think the Terry chocolate orange will already gone because Mick's purchased all those. Looks like a bear hibernating for the winters, making sure he's got all his chocolate eggs he needs for the rest of the year. But if you like general chocolate eggs, now is the time to go and pick some cheap ones up to give you some time for the year. Nick said off topic, but anybody seen the Lincoln free kick? That was one. If you haven't seen that, have you seen it?
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah,
so funny. Big fan. I might explain it to her because you've already seen it. Yeah, big fan. Sean Molly says, anybody have an update on the season ticket sales next season? Sports the Club couldn't really tell me anything. No, I would have expected to hear something by now as well. But
I think Harry's got the answer. They're going to give them, be selling them for 19.25 prices, so we'll get them for about 3p.
If only. But I wonder if they're going to announce it as part of a centenary thing. You'd maybe think so. I don't know.
I mean, it'd be a smart thing to do to drop it a little bit to get people in, if I'm being honest. Yeah. But I think the best we can hope for is probably a price freeze because everything else is going up in terms of wages and expenditure and everything. So if it's a price freeze, fair enough. I'd like to see it come down a little bit to just get people in for the centenary year, which would be fantastic. Yeah. But at the same time, I agree with you, Matt. I think it'll be some sort of centenary announcement thing altogether. They might announce it on the actual official formation day, which is the 26th of May, which might be
late then, because I think the first direct debit is normally in June.
No, that's true, actually, yeah.
They've got to be careful. They've got to be very careful because if they increase, a lot of people aren't going to come back anyway. Even with that, I'm sure we all agree it's a positive step. A lot of fans aren't going to renew. If they increase it, even more fans are probably not going to renew because it might be a bit more unaffordable for them. They've got to be careful. I don't know what they're going to do. It's a big year for the club, so they want bums on seats kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I'm sure they've already decided, but it'll be interesting to see what they announce going forward. Martin Miller, won't they announce a season ticket price after our marquee signing?
Ooh.
Well, we're going to win 6-0 on Sunday and 6-0 against Peterborough, and then they'll announce the season ticket price with a 20% hike for the entertainment factor of the last two games.
Cynical.
Sean H asking why the game's moved to Sunday. Steve Age are playing tonight because Birmingham decided to take every single competition seriously because they're childish.
Apart from the final of the EFL trophy.
Apart from the final. They had too many games, so they've had to play so many games this week. They now feel our pain from the COVID season, probably.
Yeah, and yet they've still got 100 points as it stands. The jammy sods.
No. Well, it's not jammy when you spend 30 million quid.
Exactly. Being able to spend £30 million in League One, the jammy sods.
Yeah.
Imagine having a big investor and being a big club. Oh, imagine.
Yeah. Harry said we got rumoured with somebody today. Can't remember. Somebody from a non-league club. Yeah, it was somebody who was being his contract is up at Weston-super-Mare.
What the hell?
Is linked with us and Shrewsbury. We'll cover these things in the summer probably when things start getting moving, but it's not the exciting signing we were all looking forward to starting the thing either.
Who moved from Weston-super-Mare to Rotherham to play football?
Who goes from Stamford to Rotherham United to play football?
Well, yeah, fair point actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who comes from who comes from Bohemians in League of Ireland? Oh,
Big Georgie.
Oh, yeah.
It's banging him in for Carlisle now, isn't it? They're still going to get relegated, but
absolutely.
If he stays fit in conference, he'll get 30 goals. Easy.
Oh, yeah, easily.
He'll have a great time. And
although mathematically, Carlisle can still stay up, which is crazy.
They need to win both games, though, don't they? The 4 points adrift, so it's a big ask.
But to say how honking they've been this season, to be in with a shout with 2 games left, they have turned it round massively, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
Morecambe just dropped off a cliff, really, didn't they?
Yeah. The good thing about what's happened to Morecambe's terrible, but they can't beat us in the League Cup next year.
Oh, happy days.
So, yeah.
There is that. We'll just lose to Fleetwood instead, probably again.
Do we reckon next season we should do a first round of the League Cup prediction as to who we get?
Fleetwood. Although it might be seeded. Well, I have to wait till Van it's seeded. But yeah, we'll come up. Yeah, maybe. Well, they've announced the dates and fixture. I think 26th of June is a fixture release day, with the cup draws on the same day as well, scheduled to be. So we'll go from there. Prediction time. Prediction league time. You were all useless and all went for Rotherham victories on Monday, except Tom, who went for a draw. Now, there are only 2 games left. Kevin, Ben are out, can't get anything. They can't win the league, but they can pick up some pride points. Kev has gone for 3-0. Ben has gone for 2-1. Palmer says, hey, guys, will Mick get a fair chance tonight or will Matt fix it? Well, there's already been some chatter on the group chat. So people who aren't here get first dibs because they're not here. So Joy has gone for 2-1 to Rotherham United. We already have our first change because Tom was going to go for 2-1. But if Tom had gone for 2-1, he would have been out of the league because he would have matched Joy's scoreline. So Tom has now gone for 2-1 to Stevenage. Ooh. That needs to come in. If that doesn't come in for Tom, Tom's out of the league. Out of the chance of the run for the league because he's 5 points behind. Danny, you originally earlier said 1-1. You are here, so you do get a chance to change that. Again, you're 5 points behind Joy, and 5 points behind Mick, 3 behind Joy. So you do need to better mixed result. Well, you need a 3-pointer. You need to get correct score, otherwise you're out of the title race.
I mean, I've finished strongly, so I've had a strong season, so I'll take it. You know, I've had the season Rotherham should have had, where we've been challenging, just not quite there with the big teams. But I think I'm going to stick with 1-1. If I'm being honest, I think we will score against Stevenage, but I think with how we are at the back, I think they will score as well. So I'll go with 1-1.
I think 1-1's a good shout, to be honest with you. Classic end of season vibes and 1-1. Either 1-1 or like a 5-2 or something stupid like that.
I mean, look at Mansfield game and all.
Exactly. Yeah. Martin Miller, this prediction league is so serious. Well, people want to win. People have started taking it seriously when the victory line is in sight. So, Mick, you can't go for 2-1. So
1-1, 1-2, 3-0. What else can't I go for?
I'm not going to limit you too much because I can't. It's not fair to take all those from you. Although those will be the rules next season where nobody can copy each other because this is getting too complicated now.
It's like having a rule for last man standing where you can't have the same team as somebody else in a round. It
is, yeah, because it's too complicated. Everybody could pick same results. All I can really restrict you to is you can't pick same as Joy.
So, Stevenage have kept 2 clean sheets since December at home.
It's not going to be a 0 then, is it?
So, I could see us probably scoring if we can find target. God, Joy's nicked my score. That's what I would have gone for. I would have gone 2-1 Rotherham. I'll go 3-1 Rotherham.
3-1 to the Millers.
I watched the last home game, 3-1 to Blackpool.
They are currently playing the current home game, though.
Yeah, sorry, the one before this, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, stuff it. I've got to go with it now.
Okay. Harry says, I think there should be a prediction league committee to decide the rules at the start of the season. There is, just me, though.
One man committee.
One man committee.
So if you look up a dictator in the dictionary, you see a picture of Matt.
Yeah. We will go. Paul Rose says 1-1, no chance of a clean sheet with Flipper in the net.
Sean H. Quite win, that was brilliant.
Ian Barnes says 3-3. I take a 3-3. No, really entertaining 3-3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taylor Bob says 1-2. Gobic should have gone with 1-2. Terry going for 3-1 to the Millers. Mike says 2-0 win. Sorry, Richard 0-0 if we're lucky. Steve Gunner says 1-1, and Callum says 1-0. Very scrappy game. Interesting. We'll tidy up the rules for the prediction league next year. I just thought it'd be fun to do a league, and then it has just got too serious.
I couldn't care less.
You couldn't care less. You're padding about not being able to pick 2-1.
It's the principle, mate. It's the principle.
Yeah, but I'm not bothered.
No, you see, Mick would take it seriously if the prize was a giant Terry's chocolate egg. Then it would be took seriously.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah. Harry says, is the game live with it being on Sunday? It should be, but because it's been moved from a Saturday, they sometimes make it not. Because it's a rearranged game. So
although it's a 2 o'clock kickoff, so it might be.
Yeah, it's a 2 o'clock, and the Birmingham one is a 3 o'clock kickoff. So I don't know. Is that one? I do have you a ref watch though. The referee is Andy Davies. He refereed. The only one I can think of is the Sheffield Wednesday loss, the 2-0 loss, the bad one at their place. And he was bad.
He was very, very, very bad that day. I mean, he was almost as bad as we were, not quite, but he was bad that day.
He was. So there we are. Richard says, "What's the prize?" Ultimate Human / Rotherham Fan Championship belt. Yeah. Well, Joy's with us on Sunday, so we will get Joy's prediction for the following Saturday while she's with us, so Mick can shout at her instead of shouting at me. Is that fair, Nick?
Well, if Joy's there, I can get my prediction before she does.
Yeah, that's true. You could try. It depends. If you're top of the league, you go second. That's how it works.
That's a new rule for tonight, is it? Fine,
that's always been the rule. That's always been the rule since like 2 weeks ago. You could win the title this weekend, Mick. You could win it.
Possible.
I think you need to do rock, paper, scissors at Stephen is just a who gets first pick. I think that's a better way of doing it.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. We're going to put our usual end of season survey thing that we do every year. So I'll put a post out for that on. I meant to put the link in the chat, but I've not got it on this computer, so I'll get it put somewhere else. Check social media. Fill in what you can, what you can't. If any of the comments you want to see less Mick, less Danny, less Tom, we'll probably just ignore those because there's no. If you've tuned into the show and you want less Mick, why have you tuned into the show? I just don't get it. So those will probably be ignored.
That's what I put every year.
It's you, isn't it?
Get that old bloke off. That miserable old goat.
Yeah. But yeah, we want to know how we can keep improving. We've got a few ideas for next season that we want to slightly change things up a little bit and some extra stuff, but keep an eye on that and there's the chance for you to let us know as well. We are back on Monday because the game's on Sunday. We're going the day after, so we're back live on Monday, which will be a review of Stevenage as we go into the final week of the season, and then back Thursday next week for everything else that's there. If you are watching, on YouTube or X, make sure you have subscribed on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up or a like or retweet wherever you're doing this on watching. If you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, any podcast provider, make sure you give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, follow, whatever your provider allows you to do. Mick, thank you very much for being with us.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Danny. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. Always a pleasure, lads.
We will see everybody next time. Thank you for watching. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it! It's